just dropping the Xmetric form. If you're new here, you can use this form to claim a little bit of Xmetric and ascend on your journey toward Xmetric mastery. Sorry, I botched that a little bit. Xmetric. Yeah, this is something I've been debating. Oh, well, sorry about that. I have been debating a golden ticket airdrop. I think I probably am going to end up doing that just so people have some at their disposal for reviews. Just in case anyone's unfamiliar, golden tickets are for our community review channel. It's a give one, get one system. You give someone a review, you get a golden ticket. My worry has been that if people all start with golden tickets, no one is going to end up doing the reviewing to get more. But I'm willing to test that out. So I'll probably grant a golden ticket to at least Xmetric Masters, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah, Kenny, let's bring you on up.
Greetings everyone. Can you hear me, Sunslinger?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Okay, that's good. So this is my first time joining up here. So pardon me, in case I might be drawing you guys a little bit back, but I want to really and clearly understand what the community is all about, just a little briefing and onboarding, like as a new member. This is my first time, so I'm totally, lagging behind, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me give a really quick overview before we get started.
Okay.
MetricsDAO primarily exists to create and generate awesome analysts in Web3 and potentially ultimately beyond Web3, right? We're very Web3 focused right now, but the skills of taking data, analyzing it, visualizing it, and telling a story with it cross disciplines. Give me one sec, Kenny. There's a challenge in the chat. I don't know why someone wouldn't be able to connect to the stage. That's unusual. Marina, yeah, okay. So you're already on that. See what you can do, and if there's anything I need to troubleshoot, I'll help with that. Um, I'm also gonna, yeah, I'll let that unfold and I'll keep an eye on that. To finish that off, we run education programs and we also run bounty programs where you can do analysis and get paid. And the higher reviewed your analysis is, the more you get paid. So I will drop a link to the ongoing bounty programs. The goal there is to help develop a skill set that ultimately people can use to do freelance work, to become a professional, to increase their earnings and hopefully make a bit of a better life. And along the way, the challenges are intended to help pose different types of questions that will end up, getting you some feedback and developing your skill set. We are launching an app, our first data app, next week, and that will be a big step forward in how the process of claiming and creating challenges goes. And we are very optimistic, and I'll talk a little bit about why, that will make the process of doing great analysis, getting paid for it, and creating things in particular that other people on Twitter, on social media find valuable. We're really excited about having the app to drive a lot of that.
Whoa, that's really fantastic. I'm really satisfied with your reply and answer. I'm so happy to be a part of this beautiful community, and I really wish the vision, goes as planned. Thank you so much for clearing that up, Sunslinger.
Absolutely. We look forward to having you around.
Yeah.
Let me yes, Marina is posting stuff in the chat, so I will do my best not to pay attention to that and just build up some suspense. And let me get into the rest of our agenda. Just a reminder, we are recording, folks. So if you know anybody who wants to hear this later on, you can drop them the recording link, which we'll share in the general chat later on, and they'll be able to listen to that. Or if you're listening to the recording, welcome. We're sorry you weren't able to join us live, but we're happy that you're with us in spirit. I've already talked about the analytics challenges. So some other things I want to touch on in this community call. MetricsDAO operates on a seasonal model. New season means we try new things, run new experiments, introduce new themes, and we are coming to the end of season 3, which is the longest season we've ever had, verging on 5 months. That'll be done by the end of March with the new season to launch in early April. And for season 4, we plan to post a proposal next week on Discourse for the community to review and comment on. We'll also do our best to provide some budget transparency. There's been a lot of questions of how are decisions made, how is money being spent, and we want to give a little bit more insight into here's how it's being spent, here's why it's being spent, here are the partnerships that we're chasing, here's the programming that we're developing. And so we hope that you'll take a look at Discourse, provide your feedback, your point of view. Coming up with a new season is difficult. Structuring pods is difficult. Organizing as a DAO is difficult. Most of us have never met each other in real life. So I'm not promising that everything in season 4 is going to be perfect, but we are going to continue leaning into a lot of the lessons that we've taken away from season 3. There are 2 that I really want to focus on. One is reviews and review quality, and the other one is speed of payment. I'll talk about that one first. We have made tremendous progress on paying people faster. In the past month and a half or so, we've cut payment times by close to 50%. And by end of day today, everything that's been reviewed will be in the queue to be paid out this week. So at that point, the bottleneck shifts to how fast can we review? And there's some natural tension here. Reviewers want to have more time because they want to be able to review submissions in more depth and more detail. Analysts want to get paid faster. So to some extent, that's an unsolvable problem. There's always going to be a balance between those things, but there's no additional lag in payment time. Everything that's been reviewed will be paid by the end of the week. And so there's some community reviews to catch up on. Those should be done by the end of the week as well. If you are unsatisfied with your review, you made your case and someone reviewed and gave you some feedback on that, and your score ended up being higher, all those will be processed by the end of week as well. So we've heard the feedback. We've done our absolute best to catch up on payment speed. On reviews, we know that this is still a major source of dissatisfaction. Here are some of the problems that we've run into. First, people will be asked to review things that are not their specialty or not their expertise. Second, the batch of reviews, I think this last one was 86, is really challenging for reviewers to be able to devote time fully to reviewing. Third, our reviewer screening still isn't perfect. The Samurai network that's based on Xmetric has underperformed the Xmetric Masters network. And so that's something I'm keeping in mind specifically for this week to stop using and try a different network instead. The goal here ultimately is to try a bunch of different networks with different criteria for entry and see which of them work best. All with the knowledge that once the app goes live, that the review process is going to change. It will end up being much quicker, but there will be some trade-offs associated with that, and we'll talk about that shortly. And then fourth, reviewer training and grading. There's not a lot of reviewing the reviewers that happens or that has happened, and there's not enough training for reviewers on how to review. I did a senior reviewer session. That was one session. If you missed it, you're sort of out of luck unless you caught the recording. So more investment and more training in what makes a great submission and how to review, what to look for. So a bunch of things that we've learned from the past couple of weeks with the Samurai Network and the other things that we've tried. So let me talk about some of the things we're going to do to fix this in the next 2 weeks, and then some ways that it's going to change after the app is live. And then I will take some questions. So first and foremost, reviewer networks. By the end of the day today, I will have established a secondary network in addition to the Samurai that I am basing on my own subjective judgment from having run various bounty programs over the past 2 years, first at Flipside, now being involved in MDAO, of people that I know and trust to do a good job. This is very, very subjective, unlike the Xmetric category, which is based on an objective measure. It's based on my personal judgment of the 24 people maximum that I know have been deeply involved in Web3 analytics and trust to do a good job. In the future, the next network that I'd like to get set up, and this requires a little bit of tooling, is a skill-based measure. We had an ELO scoring tool active when I was active in the Flipside Bounty program and running that would objectively measure skill. We haven't kept that up to date for MetricsDAO. I am looking at doing that and using analyst skill as a proxy for reviewer skill. It's not exactly the same skill set. Being an amazing analyst doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be an amazing reviewer, but it does at least mean that you know what quality analysis looks like and you know what you're talking about. So those two networks are both coming. The first one is coming today and we'll use it this week. And then the second one, hopefully as soon as we can get the ELO scoring tool back up and back active. And that will give us 3 different networks to test and to play with on the review front and continue trying to find the ideal mix of reviewers. I want to be clear as well, you can propose your own network. I know that the Pine Crew was working on this. I know that the Laughing Man, TLM, was working on his own for a while. If you have your own network or if you want to create one, let me know and I will get you permissions and we will experiment with having you review a batch. And if you perform well, then we'll keep sending more batches your way and more opportunities to get paid to review. Let me take a quick pause there before I talk about some of the other technical changes we're making on reviews and then talk about how the app will improve reviews and keep improving payment times as well. See if there's any questions. All right, maybe not. So we'll keep going. On the topic of reviewing things that you're particularly qualified to review, I'm creating some subnetworks starting with Solana and Near for people who are experts in those 2 blockchains. Over time, I'm going to attempt to set up those subnetworks for every ecosystem that MetricsDAO supports and is engaged with. And that way, people won't be asked to review something that they're not personally very competent with. We've thought about a network of SQL experts as well to specifically look at SQL. I am putting together a qualification exam, not super complicated, but this is what we used way back at Flipside, select a couple of SQL adepts, and we're going to try that again so that we'll have one network of people who's explicitly devoted to just reading the SQL for submissions, and then they can be paired with either a junior reviewer or someone who's a specialist in a particular blockchain. And that's another experiment that we'll make to improve the review process. The last one is reviewing specific batches. Right now, as I said, the latest batch had 86 questions. Or 86 submissions. That's a lot. We're going to see if we can target those reviews to a smaller batch and maybe a more focused batch that's targeted on specific blockchains. That should reduce the burden on individual reviewers and give them more time. Ultimately, there's still a question of, is it worth my time to be a good reviewer? And should we be reviewing every submission? With the launch of the Metrics app, it will be a very different review process. And what I mean specifically is that it's going to be much more like an upvote. We will provide a scale that's very similar to the scale that Antonitis suggested a while back on Discourse that suggests to people, here's what you should take points off for. And that process will be much, much faster. It will probably not lend itself well to diving deep into the SQL of every particular submission, which is a huge time sink. It's important, but it's also very expensive. It's very difficult. A lot of people aren't doing it right. And so what's likely to end up happening is having 10 people vote on a submission and then getting paid per submission, and moving from that to having people specifically review the best of the best of those. So not every submission is going to get an in-depth review. And what we've come to is it's just not really possible to do at scale. Conversely, reviews will happen much faster. And if we see the system isn't working, then we'll figure out a way to tweak and to calibrate that. But the idea is to give reviewers a much smaller subset of things to focus on and be able to pay attention to those and focus their energy on those, as opposed to reading through 86 submissions, which is really difficult to do in the time period that we're assigning. So I'm not promising that that system is going to be perfect, but we do think it's going to get reviews done a lot faster. We think it'll allow people to immediately say, yes, this is a great submission. It falls, the scale will end up being 100 points as opposed to 12, which grants more flexibility. We think that people will be able to use a rubric to triage those submissions, rank order them, vote on them, and then the best of the best will get a second look, and we can pay attention to those in detail and give the submissions at the top the due consideration necessary to really figure out what's the best submission, what's going to be the second best submission, what's going to be the third submission. In line with that, the way the payment curves currently work, people are really incentivized to just jam as many charts and as much explanation into their submissions as possible. One of the things that the app is going to enable is different payment curves. So we will experiment with a steep payment curve that's heavily weighted toward top submissions, and then gentler payment curves that are less weighted toward winner take all and more weighted toward anyone who does good work will get paid even if they don't get a grand prize level payment. These are all things that we're going to experiment with. We know that reviews are a pain point. It's an objectively difficult thing to do. We're going to keep working on it, but we want to see if the wisdom of the crowd approach with the Metrics app will get us a big part of the way there. And the rubric that we work on and provide, hopefully, will provide a lot more guidance and a lot more clarity on the type of questions we're looking for. Ultimately, too, there's some changes, and not Ali, this is a shout out to you. I'm going to paraphrase you badly. We want analysts to make whatever dope shit they want to make and live with the results. The idea is that if you're analyzing something you like and you care about, you're going to do better analysis. It's going to perform better. You're going to get paid more. It may not always work that way, but that's my vision for this program as well. And we will provide as much education as we can across the education and the community pods to enable people to tackle the challenges they're interested in tackling and then getting paid for. I see the point about different bounties requiring different rubrics. Yeah, that's absolutely true. If we're asking someone to make a widget or a tool, then user experience becomes much more important and the grading becomes different. If we're asking someone to write a mirror post, that absolutely is different. And that needs to be reflected in the question type. We have historically done a pretty bad job with that. And one of the reasons is that the number of challenges we are running is going up and up and up. And it just, the workload has been insane, to be frank. But as we move more toward open analytics, we can do that by category. It might be design your own widget, but we won't tell you what it has to be, just design a cool widget. Or do open analytics for DeFi. Do open analytics, but really focus on the narrative versus do an open analytics bounty that mostly focuses on compelling data visualizations. I want to make super clear for everybody, in every single case, if you have 30 or 40 charts on your dashboard, especially if you're not using a tabbed approach to make it easy to know what's in what tab, then you're probably doing something wrong. And the something is probably a good faith attempt to earn as much money as you can by shoving as much content into it as possible. We've rewarded that, our reviewers have rewarded that for a long time. I am dedicated to seeing that come to an end. And the reason is that those type of dashboards do not help readers, they don't help clients, they don't help the audience. And so changing the expectation among reviewers that just because it has a ton of content, therefore it's good, is a top priority for me. Answering the question, absolutely. If you need to compare several different ecosystems across several different metrics, then yeah, maybe 5 ecosystems, 5 metrics, that's 25 charts, or more than that, that's fine. We will do our best to basically call out when those type of questions require that deep dive and what above and beyond actually means. But just to articulate it here, for me, above and beyond means don't just tell us what is happening, tell us why you think it's happening, tell us what implications it has, have flawless grammar, have really compelling data visualizations, and investigate something that other people are going to find interesting, and write a thread that doesn't just say, I made this dashboard for MetricsDAO and Flipside, and here it is. We love seeing those threads. It warms my heart every time I see someone, cite them, but most other people are just going to gloss past them. It has to be interesting. It has to be compelling. To me, that is what above and beyond means. And it's contingent on us. It's our responsibility to start putting that into the rubric. So that's something that we're going to be working on to have done for season 4 once the app is fully live and people will be answering challenges that are submitted that way. On season 4, the date I have in mind for launch is April 3rd. I have to check that, but that's close, within a day, plus or minus a day on either side. To get there, we'll have a governance proposal. People get to vote on starting season 4, and that'll be up for discussion next week. So there's not necessarily that much to vote on, but there will be an explanation of the budget, what the pods are, and as pods, as contributor pods, we'll be meeting this week and next to talk about what we hope to accomplish in season 4 and how we're going to get there, how we will end up making this community more vibrant, how it will increase our ability to have partnerships, how it will increase our ability to scale the challenges and get more analysts paid for doing amazing work. So proposal will go up next week. There will be some discussion period. There will be some time for a vote. And then season 4 will start at the very beginning of April. As for the differences, I would say go to Discourse next week when the post is out and read the post. The major difference is we're going to have an app. So a lot of the work that we're doing currently that's extremely manual and extremely time consuming will be automated. Now, there are always bugs. It's software. It may be, decentralized Web3 blockchain-based software, but it's still software. It's going to take us time to work out a lot of that. It's going to take us time to learn, does the wisdom of the crowd and the upvotes approach end up saving time and money and enabling us to focus that time and money on better, higher impact things? It's going to take us time to figure out how to provide feedback. It's going to take us time to design more of the education courses that I'll tap Vita to talk about in a minute. A lot of this is going to take months, but having the app will just dramatically reduce the manual load on the Bounty Ops team, and it should make the experience of claiming challenges a lot better and more seamless. To give you an example, one of the things that we can do is make challenges available to people who have a particular badge or specialization. We can make challenges only available to X-Metric masters. We could make them available to Cantina crew from Flipside. We could make them only available to Dune Wizards. There's a lot of ability to gate who tackles a challenge and who reviews it. And that customizability will mean that as you develop a specialization and an expertise or several areas of interest, you'll be able to chase opportunities that are particularly tailored to you. There's some good discussion going on. I want to continue the discussion in chat. I also want to give Vita time to talk a little bit about education. So I'm going to turn the mic over to her and invite her up on stage to chat. But we should continue this discussion. We read all the feedback. We do our best to take it into account. There is some work on the rubric that's going on that will be reflected for season 4. And it's going to be, ongoing work. So keep the feedback coming. We may run out of time on this one, but I want to continue the conversation as possible. With that said, a big part of this is education. It's teaching the skills that we want, both on review, analysis, professionalism. So Vita, let me turn it over to you to talk a little bit about what we've got coming.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Really excited to share with you all the amazing education opportunities that we have available. So at MetricsDAO, at the moment, we are focusing on Web3 analytics programs. So we are currently running our cohort for Analytics 101s for people who want to get onboarded onto Web3 Analytics. And we will be soon launching another cohort. So if you want to join, there will be a link available for you in the chat later. And also, if you want to start learning immediately, then there's also an asynchronous program that you can join. If you already know some kind of, if you are already kind of familiar with Referee Analytics, then we will be still launching another 201 cohort. So we just finished the first 201 cohort, which actually went well, and we are now in the process of realigning and reflecting and ensuring that the next cohort is going to be the best possible. Other than that, we also have a bunch of different ecosystem courses available on our learning platform, which I'm going to be sharing with you in a moment. Also, this week we are launching a new ecosystem program, which is Solana 101. So if you do want to get onboarded onto the Solana ecosystem, if you want to learn about the blockchain, how it works, what are some of the key innovations that it has brought to the space, this course is going to be great for you, and it also will prepare you to complete those Solana bounties. Also, every week on Monday and Wednesday at noon, we are running our webinars on different ecosystems and projects. And tomorrow at noon ET time, we will be running Osmosis webinar, and you can find the link to join the webinar in the events section in our Discord server. If you do have any feedback or ideas of how the future educational programs could look like, then please let us know. We are very, very well open and welcoming feedback. Thank you.
In the 1 minute we have left, I'm going to drop a Flipside resource, but one that I helped work on, and one that we're hoping will be helpful to the MetricsDAO crew as well. For those who are unfamiliar, Flipside is one of the data sources that MetricsDAO use. A lot of us are crossover. You know, we spend a lot of our time at Flipside, but we also devote a lot of our time at MetricsDAO. They are independent organizations, but there is a lot of shared DNA. So we hope that this guide helps you with your Twitter threads. I've got a lot more to say on this, but I don't have time to say it this time around. Mark Hugh, I want to address your question about above and beyond in more detail. I'm going to do that in the DAOing in public channel. The bottom line here is excellent analysis ultimately is going to be decided not by a small group of reviewers, no matter how good they are. It's going to be decided by, do other people find value in your analysis? That's what we want to teach. We can teach it. There's a skill set, there's a playbook, and we've got an awesome education pod that's going to work, you know, with the community pod and the Bounty Ops pod to make that happen. But above and beyond is just an explanation for, did you do something that goes beyond just satisfying the requirements that really is going to excite people? If I had to pick one thing, honestly, it would be great Twitter thread or a great, you know, Medium article or Mirror article as well. But we don't want to say, here's exactly how you get it, because people are just going to check those boxes. It's not about checking boxes. It's about a way of thinking. How can I make something that's going to inspire people? That's going to enlighten them? How am I going to show them they haven't seen before? That's what we want to encourage. And the best way so far to encourage something has been to explicitly ask for it without making it something that people can just farm. It's a super difficult balance, but that's what we're aiming for. Yeah, if people are using that to reduce points, there's a mismatch there. It should be something that you can gain points for. It shouldn't be something you should lose points for. That's fair feedback. I will take that back to the Bounty pod meeting tomorrow and see what we can do about that. We'll go a little bit long. Why not? Is there an extra point for building a site and showing analysis? I'll probably get in trouble, but let me leak a little bit of alpha. So I'm putting my Flipside hat on for a sec. Flipside wants people to use their data. So there is a reward system going into place in beta, experimental only, launching tomorrow, called the Top 8 program, which is that if your dashboard is among the top 8 most viewed, it'll earn money for every hour that it stays there. So if you make a website and that's driving clicks and that's driving views to your dashboard, that's going to show up in the top 8 algorithm and you're going to get paid for that. We are certain that this is going to require tweaking, but the goal here again is if you make something that other people think is really cool, you should get paid for that. That's good for you. It's good for MetricsDAO. For Flipside, if you use Flipside data, it's good for Flipside. And it's something we really want to encourage. So that is a really tangible way that if you're using Flipside data, you'll be able to get paid for above and beyond. As ever, you can use whatever data you want. You can build whatever you want. If you build a website to answer a bounty question, and it's really good, but it doesn't use Flipside data, we'll still tweet about it. We'll still promote it. And we are going to work with people in season 4 and beyond to build your own portfolios and your profiles. This is the type of thing that helps you get work. It helps you get freelance gigs. It helps you when some partner comes to me, when the chief of analytics at Near comes to me and says, hey, GJ, do you know anybody who does this? Like someone who's built a tool or built a website or has a series of articles in their history. I've mentioned people who are in this chat who fulfilled those criteria. That's the type of thing that comes to mind immediately for me. But we want to make it more real and more tangible for you as much as possible. So this is one experiment on the flip side end of the house that hopefully is a way to do some of that. Mr. Wildcat budget will be posted for season 4, which we're projecting to run for about 3 months in the discourse proposal that's going up next week. We welcome commentary and feedback on that. Yeah, more input on that, requests for more detail on any of that, happy to provide. I am probably very late for something, so I've got to drop it here. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the vibrant discussion. I'll share my notes about Above and Beyond a little bit more in DAOing in public, and let's continue the conversation. Stuff like if reviewers are deducting points because people aren't going above and beyond, that's good for me to know. That's good for the bounty crew to know. So we thrive on that type of feedback, and we'll do our best to implement it. For now, squad, big community call coming next Tuesday. We've got the app launch. We've got a couple other things. We'll have we will certainly have the season 4 proposal live by then. So we may try to find a time period that works better than this. I know a lot of people can't make this time slot, but I also don't want to upset the apple cart either. We'll figure it out, but get hyped for that one. If there's one community call all season that you want to come to, it'll be next Tuesday. So with that in mind, thank you for coming. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for being part of MetricsDAO, helping us shape the future of Web3 analytics. We will see you in the chats and we'll see you again next week.